Welcome to Investor Evolution Elevate, the podcast designed to help busy PAs, NPs, and Dr. Mamas like you rise higher in every area of life. Whether you're looking to create financial freedom, reclaim your time, or find harmony while thriving in your career, this show is for you. Join me each week as we uncover strategies to grow your wealth, nurture your personal development, and elevate your life to new heights so you can live with purpose, joy, and confidence. Before we dive into today's episode, I wanted to give you a little background because today we are talking with David and Birdie Nicksic, two incredible real estate entrepreneurs that I've had the pleasure to meet. And we're going to talk about some things, and I wanted to give you some context. So you're going to hear different terms, and for those of you who are new to real estate, you may know these communities or you may not, and that's fine. But for those of you in the medical world, this may be a whole new realm for you. And so I wanted to give you a little insight beforehand so you know what we're talking about. So a couple of things that I want you to be aware of is the communities that we're a part of. So you're going to hear me say Pace Morby World. You're going to hear David and Birdie talk about Sub 2. And so I use the term Pace Morby World to encompass the communities that he's created. He created a community called Sub 2, and they focus on creative real estate transactions. So there is something called taking over a property subject to the existing loan, and that's called a Sub 2 transaction, and that's where the name came from. He focuses his community and education on all different areas of creative financing in real estate, and that is part of the community that David and Birdie are part of. The Gator method is another community that he created. That's what I'm a part of, and I think they joined that as well. And that is focusing on different types of lending within the real estate space. And there's a lot of nuances there. There's also another community that I would tie into that was created by his operator, Molly Tennant, and it's called Top Tier TC. So there's three communities that I would lump into that Pace Morby World: Sub 2, Gator, and Top Tier TC. You will also hear us talk about Owners Club. That is an elite group within the Pace Morby World who decided to join in a mastermind, an intensive group with Pace Morby to accelerate their businesses. And David and Birdie are also a part of that group. So you may hear that term as well. I wanted to give you that little bit of background so that as you're listening, you understand a little bit about what we're talking about. There is going to be information on real estate in here, but there are a lot of good gold nuggets for life, for parenting, for personal growth. And I really want you to listen in and start picking up those golden nuggets that you can apply to your life. All right, so let's listen in. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Investor Evolution podcast. Today, I have two special guests with us. Please welcome David and Birdie Nicksic. They are the founders of the LYN Collective, which is a real estate company focused on making an impact in the lives they serve. David heads up this operation with their team, focusing on transforming lives through real estate in South Carolina and Georgia. He is passionate about serving others, providing affordable housing in hot markets, and he loves to work with others to find clarity in their vision for business. Birdie has a vibrant history as an actress for 30 years, where she had an interior design business as her side hustle. Ever the visionary, Birdie is doing a multitude of things. She is the host of the Birdhouse podcast and the founder of the Flyby program. With her partner, Luz, she is providing concierge business consultations to an elite group within the Pace Morby world. She is also collaborating with Ann McNamara on small town revitalization. Not only are they incredible entrepreneurs who are refining and rewriting their story, they are the parents to 3 amazing kiddos, and they are all doing this while David has been holding down that W-2. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome, David and Birdie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Wow, you make me feel really good about myself.
I know, right?
Well,
You sound really busy.
sound like you've got a lot going on. And so this is why I'm so excited to have you guys on here, as you get to share your story about how real estate has, and coming into this world of real estate has really changed your lives, changed your perspective. And I would love to dive into that. So tell me, why real estate? Obviously, you had this side hustle back in California with interior design. So how has it transformed over the last few years?
So, well, going back to California, being an actress, you often don't work. So
It's like the actress is more of the side hustle because you're.
Yeah, really. It seemed more that way, where that was more the side hustle just based on amount of time doing the actual things. But, I developed the interior design company because I was hungering for a little bit more control over my creative impact. And you don't really get that in Hollywood unless you're writing, producing, doing all of your own things. So that's how that sort of started. And then I got very busy with that and and for 11 years really always had at least 3 clients going while I was acting. And so that was really a wonderful growth experience. I also had 3 young kids. So I might have been slightly crazy to do all of that. But David worked has always been an entrepreneur. So he was also available to help with the kids. And so we had a very, very, very busy dialed in schedule that was working. Somehow we managed. And then we moved to Charleston, and I really wasn't sure how the design thing would flush out. And I wasn't sure I wanted to do it because I built a traditional business in terms of having a company and doing all the things. So when I was introduced to this creative real estate space, which is really what excited me, was something he and I could do to grow our long-term wealth. And I came into this community, and there's so many people that give of their time and pour into each other that I was trying to figure out, what do I have? What do I have? What do I have? And I don't know why it took me so long to figure out that the design component was a huge need. And so that's how those 2 things sort of came together. And inside of Owners Club, I realized this is a really focused group. There are business buyers, there's developers, there's multifamily, single family, fix and flip, all of these different aspects. And every one of those has the need for design elements to be imported and understood. So that's where that came into play for me.
Gotcha. And so you guys came into the Sub 2 community, and sounds like maybe you joined Gator and then quickly got into Sub 2. David, for you, obviously you had been working while Birdie was doing the interior design previously. What sparked your interest? What made you want to come into real estate, and how did that journey go for you?
Well, I didn't know I wanted to. Honestly, I mean, I just got done telling the story a second ago. The evolution was she started in September of 22 looking at some, she goes, I need to do something. I need to pivot. And she started looking at Grant Cardone, and she was up till I would go to sleep and she'd be up till 2 a.m. with the light of the computer on her face.
I don't know about 2 a.m.
1 a.m. You were up late doing it, because I'd wake up and there you are still with the computer in your face.
Terrible habit, by the way.
And she was, well, like I said, it was learning mode. So
yeah,
it was all new, and she was doing this. And then she was like, well, I literally just told the story 20 minutes ago. She said, that I don't know if that was really the right place to start. So she goes, there's this thing called Gator, this guy named Pace Morby. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting name. I always think it sounds like a Star Wars name. And then she fast forward like a month, 2 months later, she goes, well, that Gator thing. She goes, I think maybe the thing I should have started off with sub 2. And each subsequent time she told me that I joined it. And so I didn't know what really that meant. She goes, I joined it and it means it costs us this much money and it costs us. I was like, okay. And then she goes, with the sub 2, she goes, all right, I joined it and you need to help me. And I was like, oh, okay, that sounds cool. I didn't really know what, I knew that she was getting involved in it, but once you're into it, and for me personally, it's taken some time to kind of wade through all of it, right? Because there's so much that you realize it really is. It's like, it's Narnia. Like real estate seems like it's just this closet. There's one way to do it, right? And then you realize literally you open the wardrobe and Pace has opened up Narnia to us. And so now within that world, it's okay. You see all these different opportunities, and then it takes a while to sift through the opportunities to find out what it is that you're doing. And so that's where we are. That's been the evolution for me. And now I think that 25, we really are. I'm sure we're going to make some mistakes, but we made some pretty big mistakes.
We've already made a lot.
In 23 and 24.
We all continually make mistakes. That's part of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, no, for sure.
You just make mistakes and then you pick yourself up.
So I think we've dialed in on things that we want to do as far as, we still do we want to do the transformative. We're doing all that, but it's like, what do we want to do as well? And so we're really focusing on fix and flips this year and doing, continue with our buy and hold.
Well, there's the active income part of real estate, right? And then there's the building long-term wealth. And I think the driving force for a lot of people inside this community and outside is, well, why do you want to, what does the wealth mean? Well, if your heart is aligned with giving and you're really focused on making an impact in your community or beyond that, you have to have money. I mean, you can help more people if you have money. And so the idea that we can help not only our family, but many, many, many people around us and impact other people's lives in a really positive way, that is ultimately, that is the exciting part. And I think I want to just interject that the reason I pulled him in and got really excited was because I think we all have this inside the box, as we've learned just in getting older, in this era where we've got the information, all the information you would ever need on the planet in front of you within seconds, right? Yeah. So we all learned that what we thought originally as being, okay, so to be in real estate or to play this role in a real estate transaction, you have to check off these boxes. You have to have this license. You have to do this. You have to have these relationships. You have to go through this. You have to do this paperwork. And I think what I became aware of very quickly inside sub 2 is it's outside the box thinking. Yes, the legal stuff 100% comes into play and matters. And yes, you have to have the relationships, but it's not driven by, I went and got this license and I went through these steps and I checked off all these boxes. It's more like be around the people who are doing what you want to do, learn from them, bring value to the table, and take imperfect action. And there's just this, like David said, it's this Narnia. It's this massive world where you just realize how many roles there are out in the world and what real estate really is. It's not about just being an agent and a broker or an appraiser or working at an attorney's office or an escrow office or being a lender, working at a bank. It's so many gazillions of other
facade.
things.
I mean, it really is. It's like, it's the Wizard of Oz in a way. It's we have here.
Yes.
But it really is because you have this idea that it's this thing, right? And then you open it up and that's a very small part of it. It's almost just like the gate that you think is this gigantic wall, and then it cracks open a little bit. You're like, oh my gosh. And Pace literally gives you the key.
And that's why I pulled him in, because he's very entrepreneurial and he gets these big ideas, or he might see a myriad of things and somehow piece it together and form it into this really lovely.
He's able to take that,
Business.
synthesize it.
Yeah.
down,
So I was like, oh, he's going to eat this up. He's going to love this. It's like creating a meal. He's really a really good cook. He can open the refrigerator and see a plethora of things to put together and make this amazing dish.
Yeah.
And
So when you guys think about others who are coming into this world, right? There's the passive side of real estate. There's the active side. A lot of my viewers are either brand new to real estate or just getting started in it, and maybe in that active side. And then some of the others are, they have a career, they're working in that. They just need their money to work for them. And so how are the different ways that people can come in that you feel like are the easier ways to enter in? Because you can dive into the mentorships and do all that, and some people are like all in that. Awesome. Some people are like, I don't have time for that. I just need my money working for me. So how do you see that playing a role with what you guys are doing? How do you bring others into what you're doing and inspire them to come along with you on that journey?
Okay, so that's such a great question, and I'm glad that you go to these people, right? That this is available to the newbies starting out in both senses. So Pace had No One Left Behind series, and we found two really, well, there was a lot of amazing people, but two really, really amazing people that joined Sub 2, and they just don't know really what to do. So there's no one left behind. And now with them, we have the ability to be able to help them jump into certain aspects of it. A lot of it depends in my mind on what people want out of real estate. And a lot of times it takes it, and I think you have to give yourself a little time, unless you're that person that like, I know exactly what it is that I'm going to do, and I'm going to go and do it. And you have the mind, you have the brain and the mindset for it. But most people are in it, and it takes a while for them to jump in the pool and to kind of acclimate. So first thing I'd say is like, give yourself a little time to acclimate, right?
Yeah.
To figure out what it is that you want to do. And this is the people who want to be active, join the mentorship. And then give yourself that time and plug into people who are already doing it. I think that's the most important thing. And there are people like us who found this couple in No One Left Behind that we want them to be part of our team, right? And we have been actively helping them. And they're actively wanting to be involved, and they're actively wanting something different, and they're taking the action that's necessary. And I'll let Birdie talk about it as well. But I think the first thing is let yourself acclimate and find somebody that you can plug into. Okay?
Yeah. I want to add to that, just saying it is about the relationship. So this would be more geared towards newbies, not towards just passive investors, although that is a major relationship play. I think that for the newbies, people who might not want, maybe they're not going to join Sub 2 yet. Maybe they're just looking at the free YouTube or free Facebook group. It's just to learn it's sort of like going to, David made this analogy earlier, going to a bookstore and walking in and thinking you want to just read fiction. And then you go to the fiction section. So you're in the fiction section and you realize how many different books there are. And you're like, oh, I just want someone to get. So that's why a lot of people go just join a book club, because the book club's they're going to pick the book for you and you're just going to read it. And then you can decide whether or not you like it. And it takes a minute to acclimate. Like, you realize I like adventure. I like romance. I like this. I like that. So the same thing goes for this. There's a lot of different asset classes you can get into. There's a lot of different, you can buy businesses, and there's a gazillion businesses. So what kind of business? So I think you have to give yourself time, get on as many free Zooms or whatever as you can, and you can trust your instinct. Be true and authentic to who you are, and know immediately this does not interest me. You know? And it's okay to say no. It's okay to go, yep, that is not for me. And maybe in 5 years, you'll come back around to it. But it's okay for right now to say, I'm not interested in that. I'm not going to expend my energy on that. So it's about filtering down. You've got this big funnel. You're going to funnel down to a few things that you might be interested in, and then give it your attention and learn as much as you can. That's where I would start. And building relationships, reaching out to people, DMing people, seeing if you can get on for 30 minutes and just hear what they do. If you're interested in it, make notes, ask more questions.
And bringing value. So, for example, this couple, they're very new, but they're super willing.
Right.
And they want to learn, and they know the best way to learn is to do and make mistakes.
Yeah.
So it's, I think,
Joining a
really,
team.
really important to find people that you connect with and go, listen, what do y'all need? And maybe I can help plug in. And it's like, okay, look, we need someone to make phone calls for us for, 3 hours a day. Here's something to learn, and then get on the phone and make mistakes. And I think more people are willing to they're very forgiving about those mistakes, because there's a million opportunities, and it's not going to kill any one thing, but the person's learning and they're bringing you value, because you might need something like that. Right.
And you have to look at it like dating. You're not going to meet the one when you're, I mean, some people do, but it's very rare to meet the one when you start dating someone at 16 years old, and you're going to work on finding that person over a number of things. But that would be the newbie thing. I would say, try to connect with people that are your people, and be willing to join a team, to be willing to do the
grunt work,
the mailroom stuff.
It's really, I think that's a really important thing.
You learn a lot.
You learn so much from doing the stuff that, like, because we've all done it.
Yeah.
You're doing it, right?
It doesn't mean it's not a forever thing.
And sometimes you still do it. Like I was with the guy last night, a guy who's in foreclosure right down the street. And I knocked on his door, and we're putting his house under contract right after this. And it's a great deal. And I went and took the guy to coffee, and I was with him for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Right. I'd been knocking on the door, calling him and sending him voicemails and all those things, stuff you still do, right? You still do. So those things that you start learning, you continue to refine, and they still serve you. They'll serve you until, even if you move on to a different multifamily, so it is still going to serve you.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast this morning with Ed Milet, and he was talking about how there's this balance that you as a business owner have to have, working in your business and working on your business. Yeah. And you're still going to do both, right? Yeah. Like, as you're growing, as you're scaling, as you're focusing on fix and flips this year, amazing. And David, you're still working in the business, helping that seller find the route, and we see that example from Pace, right? He does a lot of things, but he still calls sellers, and he still does that. And I think that's a very good thing. And as you learn the different things that are required within your business, you may not be great at all of them, but if you need to step in and help your team in this area or that area, it's really beneficial to have done that and know how to do it. So I think that's very important.
You just sparked something in me. We watched the movie Pollock a couple of weeks ago. Jackson Pollock.
Do you know that movie?
Do you know who he is?
No, I didn't see that.
He started in the 60s. He started the movement called abstract expressionism. So if you think of like all the stuff that's all abstract art nowadays, and it's like, that's not really very good.
He was one of the first ones to do like the splattering.
Right.
He didn't use his brush never touched the canvas.
He splatters. So that was But the crazy thing is that he was an artist first. Like, he didn't just jump into making abstract art.
It was an accident, actually.
He understood art. He understood drawing. He understood perspective. He understood all the things to the point where he created something that was literally a new genre that developed out of his soul.
Yeah.
Because it was like, he just wanted to do something that was original. And all these pieces made sense. Like, you would see, like, oh my gosh, they were moving, but he didn't just start splattering stuff.
Yeah.
He understood all of the aspects of it. So you can't jump in unless maybe some people can. I'd say the majority, 99.9% of the people,
Sometimes there's beginner's
can't
luck.
jump into real estate and expect themselves to be a mogul.
Right.
You're not going to be Grant Cardone. And that's one of the things. You get into these things like Pace makes it seem so easy, but there's literally 15 years of growth before, like, we're seeing this product now.
Yeah.
Right.
We're not seeing the product 15 years ago, right? When he was grinding. And so that's the thing, is that a lot of the YouTubes, a lot of these Instagrammers, a lot of these influencers, they present this package that I should have 5 deals already. I've been doing real estate for a week. Start getting down on yourself. That's not realistic. And that's something I see that hurts a lot of people. You're not going to be the great abstract artist until you know how to draw.
Absolutely. So I want to go back to something you talked about a little bit earlier about how you had some challenges. What do you guys feel have been some of the biggest challenges you guys have faced in the last 2 years of your business? And how do you feel like that has helped you elevate your business to the next level?
Yeah.
And how have you used that as a springboard even to move yourself forward?
I will touch on this. And this will be a lender going back to answering your other question about what do people do when they want to just be passive.
Yeah.
So I think for me, my biggest struggle from the very beginning was time management and understanding when you have something where you're just drinking through a fire hose and you're just engorged all the time with information and opportunity. And like me, my brain does not shut off. A lot of people are like that. And so I wasn't sleeping well. I wasn't eating well. I was just consuming. And I think for me, the biggest pivot was getting my time in order. Because if you say I'm overwhelmed, really what you mean is I'm inefficient.
I'm disorganized.
And that was a massive change for me. So once I made myself, it was really Pace, but once I took what he was trying to teach and dove into my calendar and really, really got serious about where I spend my time, where I spend my energy, and asked myself those hard questions. Why am I doing this? Why is this important to me? What is most important to me? Like, let me prioritize. And that in and of itself, for all of us, those come to Jesus conversations are the hardest conversations because we all lie to ourselves. We all lie to other people. There's a lot of fluff and it's all, limiting beliefs, mindset, it's fear, all of the stuff. And it's an unpacking of your soul and an unpacking of your habits and all of it. And you're just like, you have to just like gut yourself out on the table and literally just like put it back in intentionally internal and here to create, because your external is a reflection of your internal. And if you are all of those like bad habits and all those bad things are going to just show up. And so you have to literally so for me, that has been the most pivotal thing, even if everything's still slightly bumpy and messy. If I start with this solid foundation of a calendar that matters, that is important to me, and And it's easy to let the fat back in, but I'm trying to carve the fat out, right? But it's easy that it creeps back in. But if I let my calendar determine my day, I am a much, much more efficient, capable, happy, successful person, period. So that for me was a big one. And now, by being disciplined there, I am able to layer the things in there that are meaningful.
I think I think the initial hesitancy of structuring things so much as it feels so rigid, but there really is freedom in that discipline, right? There really is freedom in that structure.
Yes.
You just have to get to that point. So I agree 100%.
I think a lot of people actually are afraid to do it because
it calls you to another level.
It really does. I mean, it becomes, I said this right when we started doing real estate. I was like, oh my gosh, because so much of it's mindset as well, right? I don't think there's any industry that calls you to as deep of it's like Birdie said, it's unpacking. It's a spiritual thing. Like you're really knowing yourself internally, and you have to be super honest with yourself. And I think that's where a lot of people, and me included, that's where you stumble, because you realize you have to be really truthful with yourself. And people have a hard time being true because you're calling yourself to task, and you're like, oh my gosh. And you have to call yourself to task. And one of the things for me is I've got children that aren't, they're not 4 and 5 anymore. They're 21 through 16. And how is it that, what are we going to do to show them, now that we know different now, right? And now my son has 2 years of knowing different, and my daughters have 2 years. They all have years of knowing different. Like, how do we take this and implement it in their lives so that their 20s can be amazing, and then they can have amazing 30s and 40s and all the way through.
Set them up differently than we had done in the past. So,
but it really is it's a very spiritual path. It includes mindset, it includes lots of prayer, it includes unpacking. Like Birdie said, like that was really eloquent. You have to gut yourself. You really have to gut yourself, lay it out on the table and go, this is what it is. And you have to be unafraid to look at yourself and then put it back together. That was genius. That really,
wow.
Impressive.
Genius. But it's interesting coming from my background as an actress, and he was in the entertainment business also. But when I think of being an actress and how authentic and raw you have to be willing to be, it's very similar. But what's interesting is when you're building a business, I'm playing a role. In other words, I'm just doing my thing there, and then I leave and I go home.
There's still a barrier.
But there's a barrier, right? I'm actually building this thing where I'm having to gut myself. I found it, and I think for everyone, it's very, very hard. Vulnerabilities, I'm okay with, but it was a whole different ballgame to go like, oh no, this is like for real. This is going to like last for the rest of my life. And that's really hard to do, but it is a game changer in any industry. I don't think just real estate, in any industry where you're building your own business and you're pivoting in your life to something totally different.
That's reliant upon yourself. But maybe because we just delved so deeply into it from the beginning with you just like, you're in it. And you're literally swimming in it, and you realize what you're really swimming in is yourself. Yeah. That's the thing. When you jump in, you're like, I want to do this. And you have you're seeing all these people that are super successful, and you think of like, or you get that FOMO, like, oh my gosh, they got 4 deals in 3 weeks. But you don't know that they joined Sub2 after 15 years of being a real estate broker or being involved in real estate. And you judge yourself and compare yourself to others. And you really, when you jump into it, you have to realize that it is yourself that you're jumping into, and you've got to unpack yourself, like Birdie said. It's really interesting how working on your calendar is really working on yourself.
Kind of the visual that came to mind when you talked about that is like, you really have to be willing to look in the mirror and lay it all bare. And like you said, we all lie to ourselves. And, do we have this calendar that says I'm busy, but are you actually productive? And is there a difference between those two things? And having to really be the one to call yourself out and having the courage to do that, I think is hard. Like, no, I'm just saying I'm doing all this stuff, but nothing's ever really getting done. And being able to like really take ownership of that so that you can move forward. It does take a lot. And I think it's a big thing to get to that point. And again, that's where the freedom comes from. When you're able to do that and do that consistently, then you will change your life.
And it is hard. It is not where you start with it. It might be an admirable leap to gut yourself and lay it all on the table. But if you leave your guts on the table and you don't ever put them back in, you're going to have problems. You have to actually reassemble. Well, and there are going to be things that don't serve you. Like right now, the things that we have on our calendars, I would imagine in 2026 are not going to serve us the way that, and so those will have to take a back seat or go off the calendar completely. And it's an ever evolving thing. And as we all listen to these amazing speakers and authors, and if you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards.
Yeah, 100%.
No staying still, because the river is moving backwards, right? Unless you're swimming against the current and you're continually moving, you're stopping.
Right.
You're going backwards. Now, and then it's also, and I know this is starting to get deep, but the mindset thing is you start realizing right away, oh my gosh, I need to change my mindset. And then it's like, and then there's also the shiny object syndrome of who should I get as a coach, and this and that and the other thing, and all these things, and that becomes a thing in of itself. So give yourself some time to settle. But I do think, wow, babe, that really the calendar thing is literally a exercise in spirituality, 100%, and self-knowledge, 100%.
Yeah, I agree. I want to talk about you guys working together as a unit, as you guys are moving this business forward as a couple. How have you learned to find that dance, that rhythm in the day-to-day working together and growing your relationship? And how has that worked for you? Is there tips, tricks that you have found to keep yourselves growing together versus, I can see where sometimes working with your spouse can be a challenge. So how have you guys navigated that?
Can I answer that?
So
I'll let him answer first.
Yeah, I'll answer first. So we kind of really don't work together in a way.
That's the magic answer.
So here's the thing. Look, when you're following the strategy, you need the active income, right, to get the passive income to do all the things. So last year, I really focused on, and I really didn't know it, but I was like, this is what we need to do, honey. And she's like, well, I don't do any of that stuff anyway. But here's like
wholesaling?
Just getting the active income. So my idea was like, we're going to do X amount of deals. We're going to keep a deal, flip one deal, sell 5 deals, all the way through, right? And that was that's active, passive, and active all wrapped up into one. And it's creative. So here's an example. I go out and I find, just locally, we put together we got blessed actually and got this great information, all this really, really great data that's very, very fresh. And so I'm able to go and find deals that no one else knows about yet. So I'll go and I'll actively pursue these deals. And these will be deals where we're going to work together is fixing and flipping. I'll go, okay, babe, here's the thing. Let's go flip it. So that's, I think, where we're working this year is we do want to fix and flip together. We do buy and hold together. We get things out, underwrite it. I don't really like doing that stuff. I like doing the other things. And then still we are, with the transformative living, we are working with this 501c3. It is challenging here in Charleston for sure to find what we need, because there's just a dearth of that specific asset class here in Charleston. It's not like Chicago or Boston where there's multifamilies
Loads of multifamily.
and fiveplexes and sixplexes that are everywhere. They're non-existent here.
Well, they're here.
Well,
but
it's just relatively speaking, it's not part of the structure of
it's not the
infrastructure
major
of
landscape of
the
Charleston,
city, how they built homes.
Right.
And I will say this. So we parallel play is basically what happens. So we absolutely overlap with a multitude of things. So he's kind of he runs the operations of the team, and he's way more involved in the things that we are both visionaries. He's more integrator minded than I am. He's worn many hats developing other countries. You were developing countries, babe. I don't know if you knew that.
Yes.
Many companies, wearing many hats, marketing, sales, all of the things. And I get a script, I memorize it, I show up, they make me look good, and I show up, I do, I'm not a computer person unless I'm doing interviews, really. But so he's doing it out of necessity more so, but he's much better at it. So he does that. I am a relationship person. I am the brand builder. I'm meeting people. I'm having conversations. I love belly to belly, as does he. I'm really good with the belly to belly and creating those relationships. And I am happy to do some of the work that some people don't like doing, like going to the city planning and zoning departments and building relationships there. And if there's a relationship to be built, count me in. But we parallel play a lot. And then again, the deal flow comes in and he might go, hey, what do you think about this? And I'll give my zoomed out overview, 5-minute overview, and then we make a decision. We do collaborate on most of the decisions of things that we're doing. If it's clearly a wholesale thing,
like if there are deals coming in, I'm like,
I may not even ever see it.
She doesn't see it. She goes, what's that about? And I was like, well, we just sold something.
I'm not concerned. So if I don't need to get involved in regards to finding the money, the relationship, go walking the property, give us your overview of how much this would cost to flip or whatever. Or could we buy and hold this? What do you see as that? What does that look like? Then I don't get involved.
Right.
So,
and then, she's doing her design flyby, and that, when those deals come in, I mean, she's like yesterday for about 16 hours.
No, not 16.
You were
maybe
14.
8 to 10.
Oh my gosh, you were there all day working this on her computer. I mean, she was like grinding through it.
Favorite.
And it's not complete yet, but then she does that, and that takes her time. So she's doing a lot of that. One thing that we are going to do this summer, we're going to flip a house with my son.
Yeah.
We're
fun.
We're going to try to teach him how to.
I love that.
Do it.
That was one of the questions I had. Like, as you guys have you said you've had 2 years of doing it differently. So what are the lessons that you want to instill in your children and want to show them through this journey? And what do you want them to catch? A lot of these lessons are caught, not taught, right? What do you want them to catch based on your example?
I think for me, it is that it's okay not to follow. These are lifelong lessons that we all hear. It's that you don't have to follow the path that all your friends are following just because these people want to go to a 4-year college and join a sorority or fraternity and do this and do that and the other thing. If you're not feeling passionate about it, it's okay to pause and figure out what feels authentic to you in the moment. And by the way, at 18 years old, what feels authentic to you at 18 will change 15 times before you even turn 20.
Mhm.
So it's
It changes
okay.
Friday to Saturday.
Yeah. So it's okay to acknowledge what seems to excite you now and to pay attention to what you feel are your superpowers. Start to pay attention to that. So I want my kids to feel empowered by the
Mhm.
fact that they are unique and that they don't need to push down those gifts and those inclinations towards something specific, that they can grab a hold of that and go, this is what I think I'm really good at. And here are the things I'm interested in. Where do those intersect?
Mhm.
And just play around with those ideas, because that it doesn't have to be forever. It just needs to be a dialogue you have with yourself in the moment. How
Mhm.
does what I have and what I want, where could those intersect?
Mhm.
And let me think about what that means for me right now.
Right.
And then having them know that there is an immense, immense world of opportunity in regards to making money, thinking outside the box, or going in the box. Doesn't, whatever, but we're going to support. If they can have that dialogue with themselves, we will help support whatever that means, right?
Mhm.
So that's kind of where I am with my kids right now, is just giving them the knowledge that there's an opportunity. The world is really just, it's amazing. The
Mhm.
opportunities in the world to make a path
So
for yourself.
So yeah, I mean, look, the mindset thing is super, super important. And what I noticed, and I'm just going to be very upfront here, what I noticed during this process the last 2 years was my son, like he was not positive. Like he would find
Mhm.
excuses, be negative, and I was like, oh my gosh, he had to learn that from me.
Mhm.
And that's a hard thing to realize because you don't think of yourself that way, right? I mean, I don't, but I must be that way. So I realized like I really have to put forth the effort to not be that person. So my son can see that there's a different way than the way that he has been brought up. Not that I intentionally brought him up that way. Now, here's
Yeah.
the thing.
No, he's caught it, which
I
is what
didn't
Kimberly said.
understand, right? But I didn't, knowing now what I like, the gift, truly the gift that sub 2 is, and the Narnia door, the wardrobe that you've walked through, and you're in this land of opportunity, and it truly is. I think my son he is seeing that a lot. And we have a daughter in college, so she's not home very much during this whole process. And my other daughter's not really around to see that either. But my son is still very be able to be influenced in this.
Mhm.
But I think he's seen that, and I think he understands like what I want him to understand: goal setting, like literally goal setting, visualization, and getting
Mhm.
your schedule together, because it opens up your space to do things that are important.
Right.
To know that where you're going to be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at 5 a.m. every morning, if you're going to be at swim practice, and you don't have to think about it, and you write it down, and you're like, oh, here's what I need for that. I need to get all these things together, and you get them together the night before and they're ready for you. It's so much easier than just going to bed and then rummaging through it the next morning. But that requires a little discipline. It requires some effort. So all those things are kind of built in, but that's one thing that I want him to understand is goal setting, mindset, and setting your agenda.
Mhm.
Right now, if he could do all that, that would
Yeah.
be
I think
a
catching
really
the
good lesson for him to catch.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
catching the calendar and catching the mindset of positivity, like, let's focus on the things that look good, the things that are
Mhm.
going well over the things that are not going well. You do have to
Mhm.
address both.
Right.
That's been hard. That's been a big shift for, I know, for both of us.
You know,
Yeah.
thinking about like if you Like, think back to when you were 16, and if you had these lessons taught to you, can you imagine
Well, I see. I
the
don't
things
know.
that you could create?
No matter what it was, right? At 16,
True.
it depends upon who's feeding it to you. So we try not to have us feed it to him, but we try to have other people that we know that are young,
Yeah.
that are successful and young, feed it to him. And, like Kevin Show, for example,
Mhm.
right? Having
Mhm.
him, he's got a little relationship with him. So that's an alternative route. So I know he's not going to catch it he'll catch it from me. He's not going to want to actively learn it from me.
Mm.
In 10 years, he'll be like, Dad, thank you. Thank you so much. But it may not come right away. But
He has a portfolio of like 100 doors at 10 years. He's like, Dad, thank you. Like,
yeah.
you could, I was like, even if you go to college, even if you want to go to school, you could, like, 1 year in college, you can find places to buy there and have your boys rent from you.
And I want to say this, Kimberly, I love this idea that you say caught, not taught, because, and I want to just go like maybe 1/2 a level deeper.
Mhm.
We actually are not going to know what they
Mhm.
catch,
Right.
because that's ultimately going to be a choice that they make. So the only thing that we can do, which is where, of course, I try not to live in the regret. We have to forgive ourselves for the mistakes and the shortcomings that we have had as parents. For me, I know that I could have done so much better with my kids. Like, it breaks my heart, but if I dwell on it, then I'm going to
We'll
sit
start
in
drinking.
going to sit and like fester in that self-pity and this
Right.
whatever, loathing. But what I have to realize is, I just want my kids to see that I, at my age, have pivoted. I have changed who I am, and I'm consistent. I'm consistent. I mean what I say. I show up and I'm reliable. You can count on me to be consistent.
Mhm.
And that they're going to catch from me modeling my new self and my growth and my mindset. They're going to catch whatever it is that they want to catch. So
Mhm.
really, when you ask, what do you want your kids to catch? I have to ask myself what it is that I want to model.
Mhm. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
Deep,
they're going to catch something.
Well, no, it's like he caught, when I saw that he was me, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's disappointing. And I had to be really honest. And I was like, I don't want to die. I don't want to die with that. I don't want to die with that.
Mhm.
That would be a big regret. So I would know that I needed to. And I'll tell you that real estate has been the nexus and the inflection point for me to have that life-changing moment. I don't think that had she not found this, I don't know, we would not have all this information for sure.
Right.
And
Right.
it's life-changing, and it's life-changing in a massively positive way.
I love that. No, I think you're right. Right. You're modeling for them what it is that you're wanting to improve in your own life, right?
Yeah.
Going back to David, what you're saying, like seeing that negativity, and that's like reflecting like, oh, that's maybe how I have been. And you taking that, it's just like Birdie talked about, gutting yourself. You had to do that, and you had to say, I'm going to be different. How am I showing up different? And making sure that it's hard in the moment, but the rewards, the harvest that you will reap from that will be unimaginable. And
Yeah.
so good for you guys for continuing to iterate, right? You talked about rewriting and writing your script, and that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I love what you guys are doing. You touched on it a little bit about the nonprofit that you guys work with.
Mhm.
And I would love for you to share a little bit with our audience about the work that they're doing and how you're working to help in that in that way, because I know you guys have a huge passion. And I met David at a random lunch at a meetup, a
Squad
conference
Up.
a
That's
year
Squad
ago
Up last year.
at Squad Up last year. Yep. And what he talked about is what really was like, I need to talk to this guy, because you have this passion and this desire to help others. And so I'd love for you to share a little bit about that.
Okay, so it initially started with wanting to create, I'll make this quick, but create a home for women who are keeping their babies, right? Who made that choice to keep their baby. That's a big choice, and oftentimes they're left without any resources or feeling like there's nowhere to go.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was as we were looking to develop that here in Charleston, a group out of Greenville decided to start one here. So and they have a lot of resources and they have a lot of capital fundraising capabilities to grow it much more quickly. In fact, we've just decided to let them do it. We've given them money, but so then Birdie and we had an assistant last year that they met this group in Charleston, a 501c3 that's been in existence for 120 years, and they have been helping transition men back into society in a positive way for 120 years. So they've got this amazing
after being homeless,
right? Like
homeless men,
homelessness, and whatever the case may be, just transition them back into drug use, prison, all the things, right?
not transition them back into that.
No, transition back into society from being in those hard situations. But they have 120 years is a long time, and
a lot of success.
It just goes to show you that this problem never goes away.
Yeah,
it seems to only be getting worse, and so we decided
they were super successful doing it.
And in fact, there's such a greater need that they're running out of space. So what we wanted to do then was they have a 3-phase system. Our idea was like, hey, let's start a phase 4 where it's off-campus living, but they become like the guiding light, the mentors to these other guys. So, and then she wanted to take it one step further. Phase 5 would be home ownership, which would be amazing. To be able to go from homelessness to home ownership. And that was Birdie's idea. And I was like, wow, that is freaking unbelievable. Like, what a story that is, right? And so then there's, the other aspect of it, which isn't something that's happening now, but it's something I would like to develop, would be an entrepreneurial program for them to be a part of, because so many of these guys work like, the security jobs or I'm working midnights or I'm working as a short order cook or whatever. And it seems like they're stuck there as well. I mean, it's better than being on the streets 100%, but there's more. I think if they were given more opportunity or just fed more or shown other things, that there can be an entrepreneurial way to have them be a part of a business that they owned. So one of my goals is to start this business with these men and have them entrepreneurially be owners with me.
There's an organization, I don't know if they still exist, the Homeboys out in California. What is it called? Homeboys, right? So they have there's a program where they take these young men and they've been in trouble. And there was a priest that started this organization, and then they actually created a baking, right? They did sandwiches and now they have a sandwich shop at LAX in a couple of terminals. Like they built a business, and these young men started this entrepreneurial journey. And if you think about it, it's perfect what David was saying, because these are guys who have come a long way, and they've learned a lot of skills, and they have thought outside the box for a very long time. They have not been in the system for a very long time, and they don't necessarily want to feel like, a lot of these guys don't want to go back in the box of putting on a white shirt and having a tie and going to grind for a boss.
Right.
They want to have flexibility and a little bit of freedom. Now, structure is obviously a good thing, and they relearn the structure, what structure can bring freedom and growth and all of those things. But to be able to give them an opportunity to think and problem solve and do things, but in a positive, growth-minded way, I think is a seed. It's a seed of entrepreneurship that
Right.
is innately maybe within them, right? It's something.
Yeah,
that-
no, I look, and I think
pride of ownership and things like that.
if you started a business, there are some guys that might be very sales oriented, but there might be guys that are like, listen, all I want to do is drive the truck. Well, you can do all of that, but you're all still owners,
Yeah.
right? You're an owner in your own company.
And
You-
appreciating those little mini superpowers that they all have is all about that self-worth, self-love. It all works together to elevate their individual person to ensure that they don't go back into being victims, victim mindset. and
Look,
all
if
of
you're
those
an
things.
owner of something, even if you're an employee owner, and part of your experience is like what you're doing, you're not doing it for him, but I'm doing it for
you.
me, and I'm part of this bigger thing.
Right.
That's a win. That's
huge.
that's
A whole different feel.
it's a different feel. And you're an owner. You are an owner, and you're the guy driving the truck, and you're the guy doing marketing, and you happen to be doing books.
And you all matter.
But you're all part of the company. This is your company, right? And you might have ideas, and there
that's
might be a time
huge.
it's like, hey, listen, I sell the company to you guys 100%, and you're on it. I'd love to do that. The company hasn't started yet. I have the idea, and I have all the stuff that I want to do. And I actually found a place that we can do it at here locally.
So we will get there. That's an incubator right now.
And what I think is what I can see from that is how cool it will be for those guys who come out, who build that business. They can continue to bring others along with them, right? They get to be that guiding light, like you talked about. And how awesome will that be to create a different legacy for themselves and for those behind them, just like you're trying to do, or you're doing with your family, creating a different trajectory for yourself. So I can see that through line and all those different things.
Yeah.
We have been talking for an hour. I don't know how much time you guys have. I'm so sorry. But this has been such a fantastic conversation. I just love you both. And so I'm so grateful for you guys. I have a couple other questions, and I want you to think back. And what are you most proud of or grateful for in this last, little section of your journey together? What are you guys most proud of achieving, whether it's together or, in your individual journeys? What are you guys most proud of?
I think for me, I think I went through, so right when I discovered, I kind of was coming out of a pretty hard time for us as a family. We had some really big struggles with our daughter. And it was really 4 solid years of, I'll say, I always say code red. It was code red, right? It was
like
basically code
a
red
blanket of thorns
for about 4 years. And it was just very hard. There's a lot going on. And I emerged, I'm a visual person, so I'm like crawling up, and I'm just covered in, blood, dirt, sweat, snot, climbing out, and the sun's hitting my face, and I'm just pulling myself out of this deep hole. And so for me, I look back now after it's been almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years, February 1st.
Okay.
That meaning that we joined Sub 2 and decided, and it was a little bit prior to that. But as I became more exposed to all of the people in Sub 2, the mindset, going on the daily dials, and just hearing other people's stories and putting myself in a community where positivity and growth and mindset shifting and helping one another, just putting myself inside that community was so pivotal for me that I think I'm so grateful that that I can look back over the last 2 years and say that I was consistent and I stuck with it, and I've just worked on myself little by little, just taking one step every single day.
Mhm.
And I just am proud of where I am now, having not thrown in the towel and going through hard things, and just feeling really positive and grateful, even though there have been, like I said, it's like it's a roller coaster ride, and ups and downs, and losing money and making money and getting frustrated and overcoming the frustrations and just challenging myself. I'm really super grateful that I have these 2 years under my belt of being challenged to grow and questioning the internal tape I had going in my own brain, and not accepting that I am a compilation of my past mistakes. Not accepting that anymore. Not accepting that I have to be this person because I've always been this person. Not accepting that anymore.
Mhm.
And just knowing that I get to rewrite every single day. Like I get to start a day and that's a fresh story, and that I've come a long way in the effort of self-mastery, and I will continue to work on it until the day I die. And I'm just so grateful for where I am now. That's a sort of just, I know, very broad.
You're living in the gain. You read the book, The Gap in the Gain. You're like living in that gain and being able to see how far you've come.
Yes.
And I appreciate that, being able to look at that in that way. And like you said, each day is new and we get to create our next level.
Right.
So
And excited about what today is, and what I'm going to wake up tomorrow and be excited about tomorrow. What this will look like a year from now.
yeah,
It's exciting.
it's an exciting place to be. David, how about you?
Well, I was so engrossed in her answer that I need for you to
What What are you most proud of achieving in the last couple of years?
All right. Yeah. So this is one of the things that, and just honestly, what I fight against is looking at the things that I've done and actually, like, what am I proud of? I don't think I've done enough. That's what I always have, that issue, right? That I could have done better. I could have done more. But in looking at, like, cumulatively, yeah, this last 2 years, I have changed. I have really put these things, and maybe it's not super noticeable to Birdie, but it's noticeable to me. And I do catch myself when you have the thoughts, right, that kind of hold you back.
Yeah.
I'm very aware of those now. And and over the course, and it doesn't happen like in 5 minutes. It happens with daily, literal discipline, resuscitation of these things and doing these things. And then all of a sudden you start knowing that I guess I'm proud of the fact that I feel much more present and aware, and I am more intentional than I've ever been, but more aware of those things that would be the things that pull you back. Because you always have in this life, you're striving forward, but you have the forces within you pulling you back. right?
To the familiar.
The negative tapes, all the stuff, the things that are trying to pull you back and hold you back.
Yeah.
So I have been more aware of that. And I'm really proud of that because it gives me, I feel that, and I know that I am much more grateful. And I think that, we've had some stressful situations over the course of the last maybe 3-4 weeks, right? And I think that you'll agree. That I was like, babe, we're gonna do it a little bit different, right? As far as we're not gonna go to this place.
Yeah.
And so we've actually stopped ourselves from because look, real estate is
Repeat mindset.
and real estate, it's stressful. Things can go wrong. And if you start thinking about, okay, this could go wrong, that you got to stop it. It's like, okay, what can go right? And I think that we've both been going, okay, what can go right? As opposed to what can go wrong. And it stops you. You start surrendering more. It's like, look, and I know that we are in the palm of his hand as well, right? So it's like, it gives you a little bit more space, right? So I'm proud of the fact that awareness has been there, and I've been able to stop those repeat cycles.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a couple of the things that you guys talk about, and Birdie, you've said this, the thing I love about you guys is you're consistent. You just keep moving forward. And I think that lends to what you say, David, that because you have been consistent, you're catching those things faster. Those thoughts still come. They're always going to be there. They're still going to happen, but you get to catch it faster and shift quicker. And that makes
you also realize that in that moment, they're just like these thoughts. They have no value in and of themselves. They're nothing other than reinforcing whatever that thing was that started the thought, right?
Right.
But they're literally like
random.
There's like, if you really looked at it, it's like a snowflake. If it comes into your orbit and you're warm enough, it'll melt and it'll go away.
Right.
So they don't mean anything. And I think that's the thing. We have to understand that voice doesn't mean, it has no value.
It only gives you value depending on, we give it value depending on the amount of space it takes up in your mental real estate.
Right. What's the saying? You don't have to believe everything you think. Right. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
No, but that's it. And that's it, because we give it value because it's our tape and it's ours.
And by the way, David he helped to develop and launch and grow this organic beverage company. And I don't know why I just thought of it, because they used to compete. Well, they're competitors with like Coke and Pepsi for the prime real estate in restaurants, which are the machines, right? So they have this amazing organic product that is carbonated beverages, but also these bubblers. So the bubblers were an afterthought because the carbonated beverage market is cornered by Coke and Pepsi, and they own all the things, and they install the machines, and they give huge marketing dollars to these restaurant groups to carry their product. But the beverage center in a restaurant is some of the biggest real estate you have, because you can make so much money off of beverages. And just because it's sitting there doesn't mean you should drink it. Coke and Pepsi and Dr. Pepper and all of these, they're disgusting. It's disgusting. It's not actual food. It's just garbage.
It's garbage.
People are like getting these meals and then they're like, oh, it's just, you're not even thinking like, this is chemicals and sugar, and I'm putting it all in my body.
It's GMO cornstarch.
But you know what I'm saying? So it's the same thing. If we're doing that with our bodies, the same thing is happening with our brains. Just because it's there doesn't mean you have to entertain it.
Yep.
I don't know. I just thought of that analogy with
that's true. That's true.
Food.
And it's true. And the biggest thing that I'll tell this to all the people that are just starting out, the biggest thing that's going to get in your way is you. So understand that when you jump into this, you're literally jumping into yourself. Find out and listen, there's parts of yourself that you should definitely like when you're seeing that you're swimming in there. Like you have these gifts. Take take note of your gifts, write them down. I mean, really, because there's enough of you giving yourself negativity. Take note of your gifts and be honest about it, because you have some, or ask somebody that you know and love. Like, what am I good at? Because a lot of times you can't even see that. That is very easy to say what you're bad at, but it's not easy to say what you're good at. So have someone take account of all that and look at those things every day. I think that would be really important, because as you're delving into it, sometimes it feels like it's so much that you're not going to get through it, but you're going to get through it. We're very, very resilient. It does require prayer. I know for me, it requires prayer and surrender, but it also requires all the mindset, and all that stuff is literally scientifically programmed into our, like, we can fix it, and it's all scientific. So really cool.
Yeah. And I think you're right. Like, sometimes because the things that come so naturally to you, you don't see them as gifts because you just do it naturally. And so sometimes you do need that outside reflection from someone else telling you, like, this is what you're amazing at, and you don't even see it, because we are
You've taken it for granted in yourself, but it's your superpower, It really is, like, being able to listen to people and have ideas for them. I don't know why I do it or how I do it, but they're like, my sister is starting a business, and I came up with a really, 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 really cool brand for her, like, in a matter of 10 minutes. Right. And it's a superpower, and I take it for granted, but it's helpful to other people. I just have to figure out how to monetize it.
Right. That's the goal for all of us, to monetize our superpowers, for sure.
Yes.
Well, I want to thank you guys for spending this time with us. I could talk to you forever, because you guys are just full of golden nuggets that we all can glean from. Before I let you go, tell us where can we find you if we want to follow you on social? Where can we find you? Where can we find Birdie?
Okay.
And then
Birdie, Birdie.Nicksic, which can be tricky to spell. Nick, the name, and then sick, SIC. On
You're welcome.
Facebook.
You're welcome for that name.
Right.
Yes.
On Facebook and Instagram. And then my website, we have the LYN Collective, which is our website. And then I will be developing a Birdie Nicksic website, and I will be doing my podcast soon. It is a belly to belly podcast. And so we're working on some studios things and place for my guests to stay, which will be, it will be like like the Joe Rogan experience. It's going to be the birdhouse experience.
I love it.
Literally. Well, you're not going to sleep in a birdhouse, but like, it's like the whole experience of coming to Charleston, and I'm just really excited about it.
I think it's exciting. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. So I'm so excited for that debut.
Yes.
Guys, thank you so much for your time, for sharing of your experience. This has been fantastic. I love you both, and thank you. Until next time,
Thank you.
we'll see you guys
Thanks,
later.
Kimberly.
Appreciate
Love
it.
you too. Thank you.